Okay. Now, if I want to attach some event for this, how can I attach? In the opening tag, I have to give the attribute name like this. Like if I want to attach one event called on click, so I can execute this function. Okay. And if I want to attach something called mouse over, on over, on mouse enter, sorry. On mouse enter means whenever you move your mouse onto that particular element. So on mouse enter, you will like to, for example, execute the func one. Okay. And let me save this, and you see we got something over there. Now if I try to hover on this, you see we are getting error, because when I move my cursor onto it, we are getting error. You see, let me move my cursor onto it, and you see when I moved my cursor onto it, we got an error called uncaught reference error, func1 is not defined. That means this HTML, upon looking at this event handler, it is trying to execute a function called func1. But as of now, we did not declare any function which is named as func1. So let me clear that. So func1, and in this I'm going to log mouse is entered onto element. Okay. Did you understand? And then upon clicking on that element, I would like to execute this function, right? And in this function, I'll write you clicked on the element. So console.log something like this. Okay. And let me also give some background color for this div. So since I gave a class name of test, and I will be giving some background color for this, something like this. Okay. Yeah. Now you see this is the particular element. Mouse enter, on mouse enter is an event which will be happened when you move your cursor onto that element. You see, I am trying to move my cursor onto that now, and you see when I moved immediately, what happened? Mouse is, we got a log statement saying that mouse is entered onto the element. That means this function got executed. Which function? Func1 got executed. Okay, because that is an event. Similarly, when I try to click on this, now you see I clicked on it, and you see we got this one. You clicked on the element, something like this. Okay. Did you understand? So
Yes,
this is how we were attaching the events in the HTML, right? Now, for example, sometimes we want to attach the events without writing these. For example, I want to attach these two events directly in the JavaScript. So to do that, firstly, what you have to do is that you have to select this element. Okay. So I'm keeping this ID, not class name instead, and I'll also make it an ID selector. Okay. And you see, so I made an ID of test because by using ID, I can access this element in JavaScript. Now, can you tell me how can I access this? Or I can define with where, or I can define with let also. Okay, let that element is equal to, how can I access? Simply document dot
get element
by ID and the class. Yes, something like this. Now in the element variable, we got this particular entire object. Which object? This particular HTML object. And if I log that, of course, this entire element will get printed on the console. Okay. Now what I have to do is that I want to attach an event listener. So to attach an event listener, there are three ways are there. Let me write all those three ways. So we have seen only one way, which is one way is attaching events, inside HTML. Okay, so that we have seen till now. And then the second way is that by setting the attribute value, in JavaScript. Okay, and then the third value is by using a method, called add event listener. Add event listener. Okay, so these are the three ways by using which we can attach some events onto our particular element. Now we have seen the first one, and now let us see how we can attach events by using the second method, which is by setting the attribute. And now can you tell me, if I wanted to add a class name for this element, how can I add? I want to add a class name of Arvind for this. How can I add? Can you tell me?
Element class name.
Element dot class name and is equal to whatever the class name that I wanted to assign. Right? So this is how. So let me save this, and when you go to elements and you see this element will have a class name of Arvind, because this is executed in the global execution context. So we did not define this statement in any function. So this will be executed when the file gets loaded. Okay. Now similarly, like class name, like ID, and also like class name and ID, this one is also an attribute, right? Yes or no? This on click is also an attribute which takes up some function.
Yes.
Yes or no? Which takes up some block of code. So to attach for this particular attribute also, what we need to do, simply we just like how we did for ID or class name. Similarly, we have to do like
Element
this.
dot.
So element dot on click, and what will be the value for it? It should be a function. Okay, something like this, and I'm going to log something called console.log. You clicked on element, something like this. Okay, and let me save this, and now you see immediately this statement will be executed because I have written this statement inside the global execution context. Okay, now when I try to click on this, what will happen? Actually, upon clicking on this function will get executed. That means it is kind of registered. This function is got registered, and this will be executed whenever you click on that particular element. Okay, now I'll try to click on this, and let's see whether this function will be executed or not. You see, you clicked on element at line number 14. You see,
Yes,
we are able to execute we are able to attach the event by using what? By using JavaScript itself. Did I added any attribute on click over here?
Sir. It
No.
means there is not necessary to add function in the HTML elements.
Yes, exactly. So when you want to make completely dynamic, you don't want to disturb HTML, you can simply access element by using its ID in the JavaScript, and you can attach any event that you wanted to add by using the second way. And we are completely using JavaScript here, and we are not attaching anything. And of course, it will take by default a parameter. So that parameter can be anything, like we can give anything, right? It is a variable, right? So usually everyone tries to give it as E because it means the event. Okay. So you can give Navin, you can give Arvind also. And let us try to log what is this E over here. Okay. Let me save this. And you see when I click on this, what happened? Firstly, we got a big object. Okay. When I expand this, it is a big object. Okay. And we got a big object. I'll tell you about what this object is. And again, after that, we are able to log the statement. Yes or no? Now I'll try to print something called e.target. Okay, and let me save that. E.target means E is an object which is having a key called target. So if I wanted to access the target, I have to use this dot operator. So E.target will print the target object. Okay, I save this and I'll click on this again. And now could you see what we are getting?
We are getting that element, sir.
We are getting that element itself on which we clicked on. Okay, so sometimes it is really necessary that whenever you click on something or whenever you do some event on a particular element, you need that element. Okay, you need that elements. That means user clicked on somewhere, and if we wanted to know where the user clicked, then definitely we have to know we have to use this way of functionality so that we can capture on which he clicked. Okay, so this is how we can capture on which the user is clicked. Okay, now for example, if I try to create another button here, okay, another button, and in this button I'm going to give something like click me, and now I want to attach an event, and upon clicking on this button I want to access all its properties. Okay, I want to access all its properties. How can I access? Simply firstly I need to capture that element. Button is
document
come on, speak up.
Element by tag.
By tag name. Yes,
I did not attach anything, so I'm going with tag name, and it is going to return array, and in that I'm going to capture the first element. Because only single element is there, which is button. So if I want to capture that, I'll be using this 0 indexing. Okay, and then for this button I have to attach an event listener, which is click event. Okay, and for this, since it is also an HTML attribute, click, like we were using this inside the opening tag, right? So we can attach some function for this over here itself. Okay, yeah. Now upon clicking on this, what will happen? By default there will be an argument, and we have to capture that argument. So I'm naming this as again A. Okay, now that means E is a kind of local variable for this function. Similarly, how E is a function, E is a local variable for this function. And this way of writing, is this function having any name? No, it does not have any name, right? We are just assigning the value to this element dot on click. So this kind of functions we call as anonymous function. Remember, function without value. Function without
Name or
name
value.
is called, no. Function without name, but the value we are assigning directly to something is called anonymous function.
Anonymous.
Function. Okay, it is an interview question. They might ask you. Okay, they might ask you what are anonymous functions. So you have to tell this definition. Okay.
Sir, each
now,
target is defined keyword for JavaScript.
see, it is not a defined keyword, but inside this element or on which we are clicking upon event, this is actually E stands for actually an event object. That means we made a click event. That means all the details like where you clicked on the browser, on which element you clicked on the browser, everything will be there inside this object. Okay, so out of that, I want to know only on which I clicked. So to get that, we have to use e.target. Okay. Now, here, if I make a console log of e.target here, can you guess what kind of element will be printed over here when I click on this button?
That button.
Yes, button will be printed because I'm attaching this event for the button. So this E is going to be the event that worked on that button. Okay, let me click on this button and you see nothing is happening. Why so? Save this as well.
But there will be on click, sir.
Sir, button దగ్గర on click అని పెట్టాలి sir.
Yeah, I made
On
a
click.
mistake here. Yeah, it is not click, it should be on click. Okay, now it will work.
Yeah.
You see what we got the button. Okay, because I am trying to log the e.target and not E. Okay, e.target is going to print on which element we have attached. Now, for example, upon clicking on this, I want to change its background color. How can I change?
Sir, just go inside that function. And,
Yeah.
but
E dot
E dot, yes,
sorry.
E dot back,
E dot style dot
style dot
background
Style dot.
color
background color.
Okay.
T capital.
Okay.
Hmm.
Is equal to
Is equal to-
whatever background color I want to keep.
Red or
Is this true? Do you think everyone is this true? And any other answers? See, who is he here? He is the entire element, entire event object it is. And if you want to capture only the element, we have to use this e.target. Now e.target is the one which is the element. It is the HTML element. Okay. Now for this particular HTML element, I want to attach some styling. What kind of styling? Background color styling. So
E dot
I should
target.
have to, yes, exactly. You made a mistake here. So e.target is the actual HTML element. So for this HTML element, by using dot style dot background color, I can give some background color. So let me save this. And when I click on this, you see it turned into blue color. Got
Sir,
it?
instead of E dot target, we can keep button also, no sir.
Yeah, here also we can do. Instead of this e.target, it will work
We can
even if we keep this
button.
button also, because that is the button that we are having. But
Yes.
if you wanted to do with this element, if you wanted to do this event object, you can do by like that. So let me click on this. Still it works. Okay. Understand?
Understood, sir.
Did you understand or not?
Sir.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, E means
Yes.
it is an add event listener, sir.
No. See, add event listener is another thing. E is an event object for which, see, it is a default argument that we get inside this function. Just because we are making an event and we are assigning a function for it, and it is the default object that we can capture. And in this object, we will get all the details about this particular event. That means all the details means on browser, at which position you clicked, okay, on which element you clicked, everything. So let me try to log EO here, and you see there are a lot of things that we get. You see pointer event height, pointer ID, so many things is trusted to. Even I don't know most of them, but I know little things about client X, client Y is there, right? So these are the coordinates actually where I clicked. Coordinates means, see, client X actually stands for from top line how much after how many pixels I have clicked it, and from left after how many pixels I have clicked. That means I clicked at a position where From top, it is at a distance of 48, and from left, it is at a distance of 44 pixels. Okay, like this. And anything else we can, yes, not client X, I would say, but this, I think, screen X and screen Y. Okay, it might be screen X and screen Y. These are the properties which shows up at which position in the browser we are able to print that. But we don't use this at most of the times. We don't use this event object entirely, but we will use the event.target, so which is the actual element on which we are clicking. Okay, this usage you will understand when we make something dynamic, and I'll tell you at that point of time what is the exact use of this. Okay, did you understand this? See, this is the another way of attaching events within the JavaScript. Okay, simply what we are doing, like how we were assigning something like element.class name, element.id, or element.value, something like that. So similarly, element.index, like that. Similarly, for onClick is also a kind of HTML attribute, because we were writing that inside the opening tag. So for that, we are now assigning a value as a function. And in this function, what the advantage is that we are able to capture a default object, which is E, which stands for the event object, and event.target will be giving us what? The element
That
on which
element.
we are done. Yeah, we are done this event. Okay, you can get it out, like do it need to be E all the time? No, you can also have something like event. It should be a variable, right? So you can follow the variable naming convention like this. Okay, so even this will also work. If I copy and paste it over here, still it works. Okay, let me save this, and when I click on this, and you see we got the button. So it is just a variable and nothing more. Okay, but it is a default argument that we get inside this particular function. Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
What if we did not pass any variable?
Nothing will happen. See, but because that was the
Then we can
default
access
variable,
it.
and that is no, we cannot access. You see, this simply e.target is undefined kind of thing. You will see E is not defined, because E is a variable which is not defined in this local context, right? So how come we get that? Let me save that, and when I click on this, you see E is not a defined variable. You see, whenever this function gets executed, what will happen? When will this get executed, by the way? When I click on this. So when I click on this, what will happen? This function will be get some memory space in the RAM, and from there, what will happen? Variable hoisting takes place in the creation phase, and then it starts executing line by line. So when it executes for line number 23, as there is no variable named as E in this function, no variable, right? So when no variable is there, what will it do? It will check in its lexical environment. So who is the lexical environment? So as this function is defined in the global space, so the lexical environment would be its parent, which is the global space. And do we have any variable in the global space? No. So then definitely it has to print something like E is a not defined, and we cannot use that. Okay, so whenever you pass this, then only you can access that. Okay, understand?
Understood.
Yeah, this is the second way of writing events in the JavaScript. And the third way is that by using a function called document add event listener. For example, again, I want to attach an event called onClick. Okay, let me undo this. Okay, I'll be writing only for this. Okay, I'm commenting this, and I'll be doing this. Now you see, this is the second way, right? This is the second way. Yes or no?
Yes.
Now what I'll do is that let us see what is the third way by using the add event listener. So the same event which is on the element on click, right? So the same event I will attach in a different way. So element dot something like this. On which element you want to attach the event listener? Firstly, that element dot, you have to add a function called add event listener. So this is a function, and this function is actually going to take two parameters. It is going to accept what? Two parameters. Okay, and in these two parameters, the first one is the event name. Okay, and the second one is the function that should be executed. Okay, so this is what the second variable, it is the function. Okay, and the first one is inside double quote what kind of event it is. And just remember here, see, for example, I wanted to attach the onClick event, right? So anywhere we were writing onClick, but you have to omit this on in this case. Okay, you just need to write the event name only. okay, which is click event. Got it? So you don't need to have, you
Sir,
don't need to,
click
you
is
should
a
not attach
variable.
this. No, click is a string variable, it is, of course, and we should pass as a first argument.
We can
Okay.
give anything, sir.
Yeah, we can give all the valid events like mouse enter is there, okay, and mouse leave is there, and okay, and then double click is there.
Oh,
Double
understood, sir.
click.
Value.
So it has to be a valid, yeah,
Yeah.
it has to be a meaningful event. So whatever the events that we have in the browser, so we can give any event. Now I wanted to give for click, so I have to give the click string in the first argument, and in the second argument I have to give the function which one needs to be executed. And let me log a statement here. You clicked
Sir,
on
event must be an attribute, sir. Like on click and
event must be, so that was
an attribute.
that is of course an attribute in where, in the HTML. So because we were
Yes.
writing like ID and its value, something like that, but by using these two ways we can directly attach the events in the JavaScript. Okay, you understand?
Okay. Okay, understood.
Yeah, you clicked on element. Okay, now what will happen, did you understand? So by using a function called add event listener, this is the entire function call actually, and this element is the one for which I am attaching an event called click event. So whenever you make a click event on this element, what will happen, this function will get executed. Okay, let me save this, and you see when I click on this, sorry, this element is actually the blue color one, not the button. So when I click on this, you see we got that element. And similar to here above, we can also capture a variable which is a default variable e over here, and this e and that e both are same. So console.log. So if I wanted to know on which I clicked on, I can click, but I can using e.target. So let me save that, and let me click on this blue one, and you see we got the element on which we clicked on. Yeah.
Similar
Any doubts?
functionality with different
Different function. Yes. Yes. So this and this both are same, but most of the developers prefers using this. Okay, and you can also use this. Both are same.
It
Or
is
else you can
something
also
like
use
class
inside
components
HTML.
and functional components.
Yes, exactly. So if you want to use that inside the HTML also you can use, but I am telling you, never ever try to add events inside the HTML, because that makes your HTML code clumsy and you cannot achieve all the things. Okay. Did you understand?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Everyone? Sai or someone else is having a doubt? Who is that?
Sir, you have written click, no, sir. It can be any variable.
See, this has to be click, or this can be any valid event. Like what are events? Events are the one like on click, on double click, on mouse enter, on mouse leave, right? And what else? There are so many events I shown up, right? On change and etc. etc. We have seen on change yesterday. But for every event, if you see, on will be there in front of it. So that on should not be there here. Okay, you have to just write the event name. And can I also pass this string instead of like this? Can I also pass like this event, and I'll create a variable called let event. See, it is a string variable, right? Actually, this event, I guess it is a reserved thing. So let me make it as some X variable. Okay. So I'll make it as X, and I'll make it here also X. See what I'm trying to do, instead of passing static value like string directly over here, I'm keeping this another variable in another variable, and I'm passing that over here. Okay, so both are same and still it works. You see when I click on this, and we are getting that element, and then we are logged this statement.
Okay.
You understand? So simply is what it is, what this function is. Can you tell me about this function?
Function on click. Anonymous function.
Yes, it is anonymous function because no name is there. And remember one concept called as I am passing this function as an argument. As an argument. So what should it be? What we call this function as, whenever we pass functions as arguments to other functions, what we call those functions?
Calling
yeah, there is a name you forgot, I guess. So in set timeout, if you remember, set timeout was also a function for which we were passing two things. The first one was a function that will be executed after some time, and that time will be there in the second argument. Yes. So the first function we were calling some name with some name. Can you recap what we call that? Yeah, that was, we had a good talk on that. You forgot that. Did you forget that? What we call
Function
this kind
name.
of function? No. That's not function name. We call this kind of functions as some with some name. What is that name? Web API, no? Set timeout we were calling web API. Okay. And I am asking you, whatever the function that we passed as an argument, what we call that function? We are passing this function as an argument, right? And what we call this function? A callback function. Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the definition of callback? Whenever you pass a function as an argument for another function, so that function, I mean, whatever you passed as an argument, that function is called as a callback function. Now, similar to set timeout. So if I wanted to show you how this will be executed, so firstly, what will happen is that you see, let me pick up this. You try to understand this very clearly, because from last one day, I have not been discussing about the memory structure, right? So let me take a recap of this. Okay, what is this?
RAM.
Call stack. Okay, and in this call stack, what are the instructions are there? Firstly, whenever this file gets loaded onto the browser, what will happen? This JavaScript file gets executed. So firstly, global execution context gets executed. Okay, and in that there is a variable called let element. There is nothing to hoist, right? Nothing to hoist. So whenever this will execute, what will happen? This will be attached with a div element. So I'm writing it as a div. Actually, this is the entire element. So this entire element we are keeping inside a variable called element. And then there is another variable called x, which is click. Okay. And then what we are doing here, we are calling a function. So this calling is much like calling a set timeout function. You analogous to this, wherein also we were passing two parameters. The first one was function and the second one was a number. Yes or no? Similarly, this one is also a function call. You see braces are there and I'm calling that and I'm passing two variables inside it. Yes or no? What is the first variable? A string variable, and the second variable is a function. It is a string. So this function will not be executed now, but what will happen, similar to set timeout, this function will get registered somewhere. Okay, so that function, whatever, let us, I actually does not have any name, but still I'm naming it as some what we say, some capital F. Okay, so for this div element, I have attached a function called capital F, and it will be registered somewhere. And what will happen immediately after executing this instruction, we will go to line number 22 and global execution context gets erased, right? Like this. So what will happen then? Then what will happen whenever we make a click, what will happen? This will be whenever you click on the particular element for which you have attached this function, whenever you click on that, what will happen? It will be pushed into what? Callback queue. Okay, and here is our event loop. This is event loop, and now the stack is empty. So what will it do? So if something is there inside callback queue, what will it do? It will try to push that inside the function. So what will be created now? That function execution context created, and as there is an argument here, so firstly a variable a is created, and this variable is going to capture that event object. Okay, and then what will happen? This will be printed. So in the console, what will be printed first? e.target will be printed, and then later this you clicked on that string, you clicked on that something, and then immediately after executing that function, what will happen? It will be removed from the execution context. From the call stack. Did you understand how events are working? Events are much like, actually when set timeout function was there, so that functions will be executed after certain time, right? After certain time, they will be pushed automatically into callback queue once the timer gets completed. But here, in case of event listeners or events that we attach, like using this way or even in the HTML way, on these three ways we are attaching events. Events will also register somewhere like this only. But when will they be pushed into callback queue and executed in by the event loop inside call stack? Only when you make that event. whenever you make that event, what will happen? That function will be pushed into callback queue, and event loop checks whether the call stack is empty or not. And after that, if the call stack is empty, this function will be pushed into the call stack, and that function will get executed. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is what happens in case of event listeners. Clear, everyone? So what will happen? Very simple.
Yes, sir.
Firstly, whenever you make event listeners, what will happen? Those functions will not be executed instantly, but they will be registered. And whenever you make that event, so what do I mean by event? Event is, in this case, it is click. So whenever you are making a click, what will happen? Immediately, whatever the function that is attached upon clicking on this, that function will be pushed into callback queue, and event loop is the one which is responsible to execute that callback queue by saying it call stack whether the call stack is empty or not. If the call stack is empty, the function that just came into callback queue will be pushed into call stack, and that will get executed. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that's all about the event listener. So when you want to add events dynamically, you can use this way. Okay, let me copy all this and paste it for you. So 3 ways we have seen. So till now we have seen the only HTML way, and today we have seen the remaining 2 ways. One is directly by attaching the attribute like this, and another one is by using this function called event listener. So I'm pasting this, and can someone share this in the group? Okay. Is this clear, Pakka?
Clear, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay then. So what we will see now is we are left with 5 minutes, right? Okay, 5 minutes is enough. Now what we will see is that for selecting HTML elements, how many methods we have seen till now?
Yes, sir. By it's a tag name, by class name.
Yes.
ID.
Yes, by ID. So 3 methods we have seen, and we have 2 more methods. Okay, they are called as, I'll write this, for selecting tag name, for selecting HTML elements, we will see 2 more methods. One is by using a function called query selector. Okay, and the second function is called as query selector all. See, both are same, but only single difference. This function is going to return a single element, but this function is going to return what? An array of elements. Okay, now for this, what we will do is that, query selectors, selectors, right? In CSS, the same selectors we are going to use now itself, now also. Naveen, what you do is you try to stop sharing, and try to stop this, because we are left with 4 minutes, and you create another meeting, and from then we will start in a new meeting. Okay, this topic, it will take